Hello everyone. In this, we will understand about the meaning of a model and what are the various classifications of models. A model is basically a representation of a system or a process that is constructed to study some aspect of that system or the system as a whole. Means part of a system or the whole system itself. We would like to study. So for that, we try to do some representation and construct the way the construct the method that we call it as a model. There are many ways to classify models, and hence the decision maker must identify which actually suits his decision making problem. The various classifications are classification based on structure, classification based on purpose, based on time reference, based on degree of certainty, based on method of solution. We'll see each of them separately. First of all, based on structure means what all comes under that. Under that, we have iconic model, analog model, symbolic models. Based on purpose, we have descriptive, predictive, normative models. Time reference, we have static and dynamic models. Degree of certainty, we have deterministic and probabilistic models. This also we call it as based on environment. Then method of solution, we have analytical and simulation models. Now, iconic model. It is one of the physical model that represents the system as it is by scaling it up or down, means by either zooming it or reducing or minimizing the size of it. So basically, it is an image. For example, a toy airplane is an iconic model of a real one. A model of an atom is scaled up actually to make it visible to the naked eye. Then blueprint, photographs, all these are also iconic models, globe, etc. Analog model. It is another physical model in which one set of properties is used to represent another set of properties. For example, the graph. Here, the distance in each axis, whether it is y-axis or x-axis, so the distance is actually representing some property like time. It can represent a time. Time in the sense it can be year, it can be month, etc. Or it can represent a property like percentage, age, weight, etc. So that we call it as analog model. Symbolic model, it is one that employs or uses a set of mathematical symbols, maybe involving letters and numbers, to represent the decision variables of the system. These variables are related together by means of mathematical equations or a set of equations to describe the behavior of system. Example is linear programming model, wherein we have one objective function. Objective function is formed based on some variables and with some constant numbers, which we call it as coefficients. And then we also will be having a set of constraints, which also made out of numbers and variables with some inequations involved in it. Means it can have a less than or equal to or greater than or equal to, like that. Symbols will be there. Descriptive model, this simply explains certain aspects of the problem or situation or a system so that the user can make use of it for his analysis. It is generally used to help or specify to understand what the system is, what it does and how it does. We'll understand this more with some examples like organization chart, where we will be describing in a graphical form or in a figure like who is the top man, and then below him who are all reporting to him, and under those persons who are all what they are responsible and who are all reporting to them, like that. Plant layout diagram means how a factory will look like and which are the departments involved in it, which department is next to which department should be nearby, which should be far away, like that. That also figure in a diagrammatically it can be represented. Then process flow chart. So here the example of a process flow chart is there, where it starts with some customer with inquiries, customer inquiries, how do you handle, and then finally you come out with an order. After you get an order, you start with an order processing, then it goes to production planning, then it goes to further material planning, purchase, vendor, like that, till you dispatch the material using transportation, wherein you have lot of support activities also involved in it. Everything is represented diagrammatically. Predictive model. This model can answer what if type of questions. That is, they can make predictions regarding certain events. Examples, predicting an election result before the actual votes are counted based on a pre-poll survey. Regression model is an example for a predictive model. Normative model, when a predictive model has been repeatedly successful in the previous one, if it is repeatedly successful, then you prescribe a source of action for future, and such model you call it as a normative model, also called as prescriptive model. Examples are linear programming problem, transportation problem, assignment problem. Since all these prescribes what the decision maker is supposed to do. Static models. These models do not consider the impact of changes that takes place during a planning horizon, means they are independent of time. Examples are purchase inventory model with instantaneous replenishment, where the demand is assumed to be constant throughout the planning horizon. Means if you try to consider the annual consumption, even the day's consumption will be the average of based on the annual consumption, means annual consumption divided by 365. You assume that the consumption is equal on all the days. And here you don't consider time as a specific criteria. You don't consider seasonal and off-seasonal in this particular purchase inventory model. Dynamic models. In these models, time is considered as one of the variable and admits the impact of changes generated by time. Examples are time series models, and dynamic programming problem is also an example for this. Deterministic models. These models assume conditions of complete certainty and perfect knowledge about the decision environment. You know about all the variables involved and how it will behave. All those things are clear and certain, and you have all the knowledge about the whole environment. Then you call that as a deterministic model. Some of the examples are linear programming problem, transportation problem, and assignment problem. Probabilistic models. In these models, the consequences cannot be predicted with certainty, but it is possible to forecast a pattern of events based on the past data. And basically, it is based on a probability distribution. So examples are insurance companies are willing to insure against some risks like risk of accident, sickness, fire, etc. So all those they are able to do it based on the past data, whatever they have obtained, and based on that they decide about the premium to be charged. Another example is the queuing model. There also you have some past data based on which you decide about the probability distribution and then proceed with the modeling. Analytical models. These models have specific mathematical structure and thus can be solved by analytical or mathematical techniques. Again, examples are the same: LPP, TP, and AP. Simulation models. These models also have a mathematical structure, but are not solved purely using these techniques and tools of mathematics, but instead a mathematical structure is formed based on the real life problem, and in order to describe and evaluate its behavior under certain assumptions over a period of time. Some examples are weather forecasting simulation, profit simulation.